Hello and welcome to GD Live at PALS, to another GD Science screencast. Today we will talk about how to improve your reading comprehension in science to get better with that skill, which is a really important skill in the GED science test because you will be confronted with a lot of reading in the limited time. So the better you are able to comprehend texts in science and the faster you're able to comprehend them, the more time you will have to answer the questions and the better you can answer the questions. If these videos are helpful to you, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. This allows us to reach more people like you that want to prepare for their GED exams. Okay, let's have a look at our presentation. So obviously, if you want to improve your reading comprehension, and you probably should, you should start by reading science-related texts and articles. Probably one of the most important things in general when reading something is approach the text as an active reader. Interact with the text to construct meaning. Be interested in the text. Don't look up science texts that on a topic that are dull for you and that absolutely do not interest you. Look something up that you're interested in. And I'm sure everyone has a certain topic in science that he or she finds cool or interesting. So start with that. When you approach the text, be active in terms of maybe before you read it or you have just written the first paragraph, start to make predictions on what's going to happen. Ask yourself questions, generate questions, and vigorously seek answers for them while you're reading the rest of the text. Science articles can be very intimidating because they may contain a lot of new vocabulary and keywords which you don't know. So one way to solve that problem is read the text more than once. And during the first reading, just scan for words that you don't understand and highlight these keywords. Then, maybe in a second approach, just look at these specific passages where these keywords are in, and very often these keywords will be defined and explained right around the region where they are mentioned. So look for the definitions in the text. Maybe write them down at another point and write that definition down. So if you come back and you're not sure, or if the same vocabulary, the same keyword is mentioned later again and not explained one more time, you have your definition on the side ready to check and look up again. If the text has keywords for which the knowledge is assumed that the reader knows the keyword, but you do not know it, well, then look up the definition elsewhere and again write it down. Once you have completed that task, read the text fully again and try to fully comprehend it. Read one paragraph at a time, and after every paragraph you can take a very short break and digest the paragraph and try to summarize its content. What did you just read? What was the main idea of the paragraph? Summarize that in a few key words. It will help you to grasp the whole picture of the author's intent in the end of the whole text. As mentioned in the points before, when you write down the keywords and the definitions, just start a glossary. Do that for all the science texts that you read and make a collection of all these keywords. And you will see that sometimes you will already have a keyword and you don't need to write it down again. And it's a good time to revise that word. And you will see that the more you read, the more you don't have to look up keywords anymore because you will know their meaning. As well, another skill that is really important for the GED test in science is to know about the scientific method, to know about experimental design, to know how to formulate and how to spot a hypothesis. And you will find all these three things very often in science-related texts or scientific reports. and always look out for them and think about, try to investigate how the author has made use of these very important tools in science. And for sure, to further practice, time your reading to get faster, which will help you having more time in the GED test answering questions. So where can you find science-related articles to practice? I've put down 3 examples. I'm very sure there is a lot more. So one way to find interesting articles is to check out government websites. You can usually trust these in terms of the content that is written there. 2 examples would be the homepage of NASA for anything earth science or space science related. I'm sure you can find other topics there as well that might be chemistry or biology or probably as well physics related. Another good source might be the NOAA homepage. Anything here, a lot of earth science related things, a lot of climate science related things, oceanography, a lot of interesting articles on that homepage as well to start reading and start gaining some knowledge. Again, they have huge libraries of interesting articles of all kinds of science topics. You will not only improve your reading skills, but at the same time learn for the GED science test. And again, look for something that you are interested in, that you want to know about. If you don't have a specific topic coming to your mind, just go on one of these websites and just scroll around a bit, surf on the internet a bit, and try to find something there that interests you. Another very helpful source are GED study guides and study books. They're very great in terms of improving your reading comprehension, especially if your skills are still a little bit lower. It's a very good starting place here, because a lot of the important vocabulary will already be highlighted, will be well defined for you and well presented. If your reading skill is already advanced, one thing I can advise you to do is try read real scientific articles, peer-reviewed articles, and again, for any related to any science topic that is interesting for you, you have to probably try to find something that's not behind a paywall. So there are a lot of free science articles, but not all of them are free. If you are really interested in an article that's not free, I can recommend you just email the author. They're usually very happy to provide the articles to you if you ask nicely. And this will help you a lot improving your reading comprehension to a very high level if you're already advanced. And here again, it is very important, or here you can improve a lot on how the scientific method works, and try to spot the different steps of the scientific method, about the methods the scientist has used in his or her experimental design, and finding the hypothesis, and so on. Okay, besides reading comprehension, a skill that is as important in science is being able to understand and interpret graphs. So practice describing graphs. How do you describe a graph? A good description allows the reader to create a rough image of the graph without actually seeing the graph. So good description is usually 3, 4, 5 sentences that allow the reader to create an image of the graph in his mind. Important here is don't focus on a lot of details, focus on the general trends that the graph presents. Important terms that are used in describing graphs are increase, incline, rise, when the trend of the graph is going up, Or the opposite, when the trend is going down, decrease, decline, fall. When a line is flat, it doesn't change. No, you have like something's happening steadily, stationary, linearly, and a linear increase, it's going straight up or straight down, linear decrease, exponentially, increase, decrease, having a curved line that starts slowly and then goes up really fast. So all these terms are very helpful in describing trends in a graph. However, I said earlier, don't focus on details, but details can be actually very important, but only specific points, important details, not unimportant details on the graph. And this takes some practice. So let me give you some ideas here what important points on a graph are. Very often points of interest might be extremes on the graph, like the highest point or the lowest point. If there is like a dip in the graph, it goes down a lot and then we have a turning point where it goes back up again. When trends are changing in the graph. So these points might be very important and of interest, and you can give as well numerical values using your x and your y-axis and the scales to give the reader an idea where these changes or where these extremes are located. Now, other points of interest could be starting point or end point of the graph. It really depends on the content of the graph and the context the graph is presented with. So let's go over an example here. I've taken just a random graph here. And how do we approach a graph? I've skipped that. Start by analyzing a graph always by looking at the title first, comprehended. Very often a graph comes with a text, so try to make the connection between the text and the graph. After understanding the title of the graph, check out the axis, the scale, the labels, fully comprehend what the axes are telling you. And once you have understood the title, the labels of the axis, the scale of the axis, then look at the actual graph and start describing the trends. So what do we have here? Number of hurricanes between 1870 and 2005, which at the same time is our x-axis. Our x-axis is the years from 1870 to 2005. Our y-axis is the number of hurricanes. Our scale is in steps of 2. And something is very important here. Already on the y-axis we can see this little break down here. This was put in because the first step is not to scale compared to the other steps. The first step is 0 to 5. The reason for that is to center the graph so that the whole graph doesn't have like a big empty area down here. But it is very important to comprehend that whatever is down here is actually not close to 0, but it is around 5, and then every further step of the same size is actually just an increase or decrease by 2. So what are the trends here on this graph? We can see that we start around 10 hurricanes, it falls, it rises, it falls, it rises, it falls and falls and falls, and it rises and it falls and it rises and it falls. We don't describe it like that. So what we see is in the first 30 years, the number of hurricanes is steady at around 8 hurricanes per year, then drops a little bit until 1920s, and then we see a steady increase from the 1920s of around 5 hurricanes to 15 hurricanes on average, 14, 15 hurricanes on average in the year 2005. So we have steady hurricanes, or we have slight decrease from 1970s to 1920, and from the 1920s we have a steady increase of hurricanes to, let's say, 15 hurricanes in 2005, from 5 to 15, or from around 7 in around 1900 to almost doubling 14, 15 hurricanes in 2005. So this describes the trend. Now, trend, I think it would be fine to just keep it steady. In the first 50 years, from 1970 to 1920, the number of hurricanes fluctuates around 7 hurricanes per year, and then starts to gradually increase to the highest number of 15 hurricanes in 2005 or 14 hurricanes in 2000. That is a short and nice description of this graph. Okay, I hope I helped you in finding ideas on how to work on your reading comprehension and describing graphs skills. If you found this video helpful, one more time, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It helps us and it helps to reach other people like you that want to improve and study for their GED tests. I'll see you next time for another screencast. Until then, good luck with your preparation and have a good day.